Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. Leidecker. I am your pre-algebra teacher this year. So glad to have you in class. Those of you who are staying at home, we miss you. We wish we could be with you in person, but we also understand the safety precautions you need to take to keep yourself or your family and friends safe. So if you are doing school at home, this is a great resource for you to follow along, watch the video, have your notes printed out, ready to go, and just follow along, and you can fill in your notes and then do your homework using that. So um, thought I would just give you a basic overview of the class while going through the syllabus. So if you have the syllabus, print that out, get it in front of you, and we're just going to really briefly go over this. I'll go over this in depth in class. But I know that you can read this and find out all the information you need to. So I'm not gonna bore you going over this, okay? But the big things we really need to know for this class is I take organization very seriously. So I do have very specific guidelines for you to stay organized. And so one of those ways is to create a math portfolio. And so the math portfolio is basically an accumulation of all the things we do in one semester put into a binder. So here is a binder that I have made myself, and in it you should have 5 tabs labeled study guides, homework, extra practice, test, and quizzes. And of course, when you have those things, you're going to put them back into the right tab according to what it is. You should have a 3-ring zipper pouch, and so you can get these at Walmart or whatever, but you should have a 3-ring zipper pouch that goes in there. And I'd like for you to have all the things you need. So pencil, eraser, ruler, calculator, those kinds of things that you would need, a red pen, maybe even a highlighter, just in this zipper pouch. And you only need one of each of those things. Don't use this for the rest of your classes. I want it specifically for math, so that when it's math time, all you have to do is take out your binder and literally you have everything you need right here. So it's very convenient, and then you don't lose your stuff, and it's really nice. So we are going to be using the TI 3022S calculator. So if you have a simple, calculator like this, that should work. You do need a college ruled spiral notebook in there, because that is going to be where we take extra notes. There's sometimes when the study guides or notes that we use in class that's printed off given to you doesn't have everything in there. You need to write down some extra stuff in your notebook, and so that's what it's used for. Please keep it tucked in there so that when you take out your binder, it's just ready to go. I'd also like for you to have loose leaf paper and graph paper in there ready to go, because this is what you're going to do your homework on. So it's really nice if you just get a chunk of it, stick it in there, and then when it's homework time, get a piece out, title it, write your name on it, and then put it in your homework tab. When you come to school, you know exactly where your homework is. So I do take organization very seriously throughout the school year. We will do a few peer binder checks, and there will be times when maybe I even look through it. So please stay organized. Don't throw anything away. Put it in your binder where it belongs, okay? The rest here is just course description, structure, classroom conduct, those things you can read by yourself. And then, of course, what's important to know is the grading criteria here. So 25% of your grade is homework and participation. I will give you participation points every day for coming to class. And it's basically 10 free points for you if you show up, have your binder, finish your homework, and just have good behavior in class. So 3 points for having your binder, 3 points for doing your homework and having it ready to turn in, and then 4 points for behaving, okay? Then you have 25% of your grade goes to your quizzes, and then 50% of the test grade or the class grade goes to tests, okay? So make sure you study for those tests, review, go over any problems that you missed on your homework in the past. That's a great way to study for your test. Then, of course, here's just a little description for homework, quizzes, exams, all that stuff. We've got some classroom policies, and then tutoring. So if you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know the last thing you want to do in your free time is to work on um, math, but it really can make a difference. So if you're confused, I'm going to read this right here. Students can arrange to meet with teacher to go over any material they may not understand from the week. Students might be encouraged to get math help at Mathnasium if they have a C or below. So we do partner with Mathnasium, which is a tutoring center. They're awesome. We've got a lot of kids that go there that love it. But I might highly encourage you to go to Mathnasium on your off days, like on your at-home days, if you have a C or below in this class, okay? Big tips for success here basically is to do your homework, because that's a big part of your grade. Take notes. You don't always just remember what's being said in class, so write it down so that you can look back at it when you go home. Bring your binder. That's, automatic points for participation is having your binder. And then finally, you can make corrections. So I'll go over this step here. So for homework, any of your homework, you can, if you get something wrong, you can make corrections, turn it back in and get full credit for it, okay? And then for quizzes and tests, if you do corrections, show your work, attach it to your test after it's been graded, you get half credit back. So doing corrections is a huge way to get your grade up if it's not very high, or if it's good but you just want to make it even better. Do those corrections. It's also a great way to review what you missed and relearn it and make sure you understand it. Okay, so that's basically class overview. If you have any questions, reach out to me. We are going to get started with chapter 1, lesson 1. So in front of you, you should have this words into math page, this words into math word bank, this chapter 1, lesson 1, words and equation notes page, and it should be front and back. So it also has a back there with some places for you to fill out. So have these in front of you ready to go. If you don't have them, pause the video, go get them printed off, and then come back. The first thing we're gonna look at is this words into math page. This words into math page is basically just an overview of types of phrases or words that we might see in word problems that indicate a certain operation. So in math, when we're working out a problem, we have addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, parentheses, and then of course this equal signs. So when we're reading word problems, a lot of times we have to translate these words, these phrases, into an actual equation. So this is kind of a helpful guide. Keep this and have it handy whenever you're working on word problems. Pull this out if you're confused and find what type of vocabulary is here to indicate what type of operation. Okay, so let's take a look at the words into math document. I'd like to give you a few minutes to fill this out on your own first. So use the word bank, see if you can fill out these words into this words into math word bank, and test yourself to see how much you know. And then we'll go over these answers together. Okay, so if you had the opportunity to do it, you paused the video, worked it out, and did it, here are the answers. So for addition, the keywords that you would see would be add, hopefully you know that one, sum, so the sum of 2 and 3 means to add 2 and 3, right? Increased by, so if it's 2 increased by 4, that means 2 plus 4, right? Together, like 2 and 3 together makes 5. More. And plus and combined. So anytime you see these words, it's a Strong indication that the operation you're using is addition. Okay, subtraction. Here you should have put subtract. That might be a little bit obvious. Decreased by. Difference. Minus. And that's it for the subtraction. Now, turnaround words. You might have been confused, like, what is this? What are turnaround words? Well, this is where if you see this in a phrase, and I'll give you an example. So the two words that we have here are than, like less than, more than, and from or fewer. This means if I say I have 5 less than 10, instead of doing 5 minus 10, it really is 10 minus 5, because think about that. 5 less than that original amount, which is 10. So 5 minus 10. So it's turned around. Like what you see here, 5 less than, you know, oh, less than means minus, but it's not 5 minus 10, it's 10 minus 5. So be careful with those. Those turnaround words really do get us. And so it goes same for from and fewer. Those would be examples of turnaround words that if you see those, it's not as logical where you just read it and then you work that out and write it as the same order that the phrase was described. You'd actually have to flip-flop them. Okay, next word, division. So the ones that you should have put, quotient, that is the word that we use to describe the answer to a division problem. So like the quotient of 4 and 2 means the answer of dividing 4 divided by 2. We've got shared. So if you share among a certain amount of people, you're distributing that evenly to all the people there. So that would be dividing. And then divided by. So see if you got all these correct. For multiplication, we have product. Product of, right? Times, multiple, and like twice, 3 times, quadruple, right? These words, but twice is the one you most commonly see. So that means multiplying by 2, right? Twice. Okay, equal words. The big one is, right? 2 plus 4 is how much? Is means equals. Or are, or were, or will be. So kind of forms of is, right? Different forms of is. Or different forms of be, right? Okay, parentheses words. Parentheses words would be when you have an operation being done inside a parentheses and then more is being done to it. So we'll actually do a few examples of these in class. Times the difference of, that should have gone here. So if I say 2 times the difference of 5 and 2, that means I'm doing 5 minus 2, the difference of 5 and 2, but it's 2 times that difference. So it'd be 2 times what's inside the parentheses. So times the difference of, or like twice the sum of. So like 2 times the sum of 4, or twice the sum of 4 and 3, right? So that would be twice the sum of what's gone on inside the parentheses. So you've got to add it first before you multiply it. And then plus the difference of. Now, there's definitely more parentheses words, but these are just some examples. Because a lot of times with parentheses words, you've got an operation or an expression being done inside the parentheses, and then something being done after you've done what's inside the parentheses. So plus the difference of, so I could say 10 plus the difference of 4 and 1, right? So that means I'd have to subtract 4 minus 1 and then plus 10. 10 plus the difference of 4 and 1. So something like that. These are just some examples there. Okay, hopefully you got them all right. If not, make some changes and then have that in your notes so that whenever you're working on word problems, you can just pull them up, take a look at it, and help you figure out what you're supposed to do. So with that in mind, we're going to do some practices. So as we read a phrase, we want to translate this into an expression. So mathematical expression here. So to translate verbal phrases into expressions, a numerical expression contains a combination of numbers and operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Verbal phrases can be translated into numerical expressions by replacing words with operations and numbers. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to replace all these words and change them into numbers and operations. So the product of 17 and 3. If I were you, I might even highlight some keywords. Product, right? That means if I look back on my page, I think that's multiplication. So the product of 17 and 3 means I need to do 17 times 3. Okay. The total number of pencils given to each student if 8 pencils are shared among the 6 students. So that means I need to do 8 pencils shared among 6. Now I think there's a typo here because I think this is supposed to be 18. So because 8 divided by 6 would be a very funky number. So 18 pencils shared among 6 students. You want to find out how many each student gets. Well, the total of number given to each student, so you could work this out and then you would get the answer. That would be 3, right? Okay, so let's do a few practices. If you want to pause the video and work it out, you sure can. I'm going to highlight some interesting words here before I do it. These are words that I used in my little word bank there. So less than, divided, quotient of, increased by, yeah. I don't see any keywords here, but maybe each. So taking a look here. Hopefully you got a chance to do these. Pause the video, get them done, and then we're going to take a look at the answers. So 11 less than 20. Remember, this is our turnaround word, meaning even though it looks like 11 minus 20 or 11 subtract 20, it should be flip-flopped, 20 minus 11. Okay, 64 divided by 8. So 64 divided by 8. The quotient of 40 and 8. So quotient means answer to a division problem. Divide. 6 groups of 12. So 6 groups of 12, 6 times 12. 25 increased by 6. I think that's addition, right? 25 plus 6. The cost of 6 electronic handheld games if each costs $8. So I think that would be multiplying, right? 6 times 8. The cost of 1 box of cereal if 4 boxes cost $12. So this time we've got 4 boxes that cost $12. That's almost like what our answer would be after we've bought 4 boxes, right? The amount of money you have to pay for 4 boxes. So 12 But we want to find out what one box is. So I think we'd have to divide by 4. 12 divided by 4, and so each box, I believe, would be like $3, right? Okay. Now let's move on to order of operations. So I don't know if you've done this with your other math classes, but order of operations is a big deal when we're working these math problems out, because if I do my math problem in a certain order and somebody else does their math problem in another order, we're going to get totally different answers. So order of operations basically tells us when we're reading, verbally processing a phrase where something has to happen, we have to work a problem out and solve to find the final answer. The operations that go in order follow this this little saying here, and we like to call this PEMDAS, or you can kind of remember that as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. But what this stands for is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So the order of working out a problem and their operations is to first do parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication and division. They come together simultaneously, but for the sake of our little phrase here, they're separated. And then after multiplication and division, it's addition and subtraction. So that comes last. If you see other operations that come before addition and subtraction, okay? So I also wanted to show you in math now, when we do multiplication and division, we're gonna start writing it not just with a multiplication symbol like an X here, because later on as we get into algebra some more, this X or this multiplication sign can be mistaken for a letter, and we don't want that. So we're going to start writing multiplication with a dot. You still might see it as a little multiplication sign like that, but we're most often going to use a dot to represent a multiplication sign. We also might use a parentheses. So if I have 5 parentheses 3, that means 5 times 3. So all this means the same thing, just written a different way. Division, as we commonly see it, is like this. So we're going to do 15 divided by 3. There will be times when we see it written as a fraction. So if I have 15 over 3, isn't that the same thing? If you turned this into a whole number, it would just be the same answer as 15 divided by 3, which would be 5, right? So you could also start to see expressions and then a division sign or a fraction sign over something. And this would mean 15 plus 3, do that first, and then divide that by 3. So this little fraction bar, that also means division. So don't worry if you're looking at this and you're like, it's confusing. We're going to do some practices. So let's go to the back. We've got some practice problem boxes for us, and I've got a few practice problems all ready to go that I want to do with you. So practice problem number 1. What color should I use? Let's use blue. 20 minus 3 times 5. What would you do here? What would come first? Now, if you said multiplication, you're right, because order of operations, like up here, tells us if we see multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, we've got to do multiplication and division first. So we're going to do 20 minus 3 times 5, which is 15. And our answer is 5. Okay, number 2. 30 divided by 5 times 3. Now, I see division and multiplication. Remember we talked about how they do come together in the same position. So you don't actually have to do multiplication first and then division. If you see multiplication and division together, just go left to right. So we're going to follow what we normally do when it's just a regular problem where we don't have to do a certain operation first. We're just going to go left to right. So 30 divided by 5 is 6, and then 6 times 3 is 18. So that's my answer, 18. Okay, number 3. Getting a little trickier here. Let's bring some parentheses in. 4 times 10 minus 7 plus 2 times 3. Notice I used a dot. If you want to do this, pause it and then play it, and we can find out what we did. So remember, parentheses comes first. So I need to do my parentheses, which is 10 minus 3. Or sorry, 10 minus 7. I accidentally said the answer in there. Okay, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. So I'm going to bring this 4 down. I'm going to do this plus, and then 2 times 3. Now I've got 2 multiplications. I've got 4 times 3. They're written differently, but it's the same thing. 4 times 3 and 2 times 3. So I can actually do those at the same time if I want to. So 4 times 3 is 12. Bring my addition sign down. And then 2 times 3 is 6. So now I have 12 plus 6, which is 18. My answer is 18. Next, we've got some brackets. Now, brackets are just another way of saying parentheses, but instead of just putting parentheses everywhere, we use brackets to show that that is outside what's inside the parentheses. So whenever you see a problem like this, you want to do the most inner parentheses first. So the most inner parentheses that's inside the brackets is this part. We're going to do that first. So 7 plus 5 is 12. And then I'm just going to write everything else down. I'm going to copy what I have. 11 minus 12 divided by 4 brackets. Now this is just another way of saying parentheses. So I have to do what's inside the parentheses before I multiply by 5. When I look at this, I notice I have division and subtraction. Now division comes first because of order of operations. So 12 divided by 4 comes first. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then we have 11 minus 3. Parentheses, bring my 5 down. And if all you have left is just one bracket, you can change that into a parentheses. They mean the same thing. It's just when we have parentheses and brackets, we write them a little bit differently. So 11 minus 3, I've got to do what's inside the parentheses. 11 minus 3 is 8. And then I have 5 parentheses 8. Remember, when I just have a number in parentheses with another number outside, that means multiplication. That means 5 times 8, and that answer would be 40. Now guys, notice how I'm showing all my work, every step. I want to see this in your homework. I need to see all your steps. If you just give me 40 at the very end and nothing in between, it will not give you the full points, and I'll make you do your homework all over again, okay? So do it right the first time. Okay, number 5. 60 minus 15 divided by or over 2 plus 7. So when you see this, we're going to do each part individually. 60 minus 15 is 45. Then I'm going to bring this 2 plus 7. 2 plus 7 is 9. So I worked both the numerator and denominator out, so that was just a number. And once I work that out, that's 45 divided by 9. My answer is 5. All right, I'm going to give you a few practice problems here. I'm going to just write them all, 6 through 10. I'm going to write them all for you, and then we're going to come back and do them. So if you want to write these problems down and then work on them, pause the video and work on them, you are more than welcome to. Give yourself a little bit of practice time. See if you can get these right. They're very similar to the problems we did above. Okay. Pause it and see if you can work these problems out. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to work these out. I'm just going to kind of go through them and you can check your answers. So order of operations tells me print multiplication first. 18 plus 8 is 26. Work this out. 4 times parentheses. Well, 6 times 2, that is multiplication. That comes first. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 minus 3, parentheses, do that first. 4 times 9. 4 times 9 is 36. My answer is 36. Order of operations says multiplication first. This is already in the front, so I can just do that first. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 plus 9 is 33. My answer. Okay. 15 minus 5 is 10. 6 minus 4 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. My answer is 2. Okay, last one. 38 plus 18. That's 56. 27 minus 14, sorry, 27 minus 14 is 13. And I believe this is, I'm going to actually, nope, I didn't do that right. The answer doesn't come out even. So in that case, we're just going to leave this as the answer, as a fraction. If it doesn't divide, it doesn't simplify, write it as a fraction, keep it as a fraction. Okay, those are all the practice problems. So your homework for today is on RunWeb, follow that, and then do the problems in the book. Good job today. I'll see you next time.